Hey, Jeff Dawson here. I'm in front of Quincy Hall in Ballston, Virginia. That's Ballston. Often confused for Boston. So terrible name, but actually named after somebody named Ball. My partner Peter Bain and I put this one together. Quincy Hall has been open since post-pandemic. We got completely destroyed by the pandemic and had to sort of reinvent ourselves. Now we've started to get our feet underneath us, and it's really becoming a part of this neighborhood, and we're beginning to really get our roots into the ground. One of the things I love about this location is that directly across the street was CarPool, a bar I built in 1994. It was an old car dealership, a Rambler select car dealership, and we turned it into a pool hall. It ran like a machine for 25 years. And we looked around and saw apartment, office, all high rises, and we thought, well, this is perfect. So we thought, hey, we'll just open in this available spot right across the street and try to capture some of that vibe. One of the things we really liked about this space, though, is the visibility. It's on the corner of a building. People can see it from a lot of different directions. It's nice. We don't have to do a ton of advertising outside of the neighborhood, and it has a big patio. And patios are money. Patios are great, and a big patio is even better. You walk by and you see this with the beer garden lights and red posts and colorful tables, and from spring through fall, it just hops out here. And here we are inside Quincy Hall. For starters, it had been a high restaurant for many years, and there was some sort of legendary late night poker game going on, so I like to think about the vibe that's buried in the concrete somewhere. But we had to gut everything and polish the floors. The build out was challenging, and also because it's a relatively new office building, it doesn't have any bones. If you look at Franklin Hall's video, you'll see this old building that's just beautiful and just radiates character. In this case, we had to create the character. That's not always easy. Things like exposed ducts are good. The beer garden tables, the soft cushioned seats, you can get a lot of people at these tables. Sometimes you get groups of four. Sometimes it's just all one party. There's just room for people to kind of define their space. As we get to the bar, we like to go high top. When you're sitting at a high table, somebody can come up and stand and talk to you and be a part of the conversation, where if it's a low table, you know, it's a little awkward to be standing there looking down and talking. So we find high tops work really well. Plus it essentially extends the bar surface. So if you're here, you're really part of the bar. And if you're sitting over here, you're part of the beer garden area. So it just defines the space nicely. The bar is huge. It's two sides. One of my favorite details that we've started to put into the bar, you gotta have a footrest at a bar. If you have a bar without a footrest, you know, it's sort of that, ooh, it's like riding a horse without stirrups or something. This graffiti art, Kelly Towels, who's done a lot of work for us over the years, came out and helped us with this. And then my go-to favorite guy of all time, Billy Colbert, came in round two and started to put in his vibe and give us a little bit of that sort of eclectic Billy style, which you can see over here on this back wall, where once again he goes to some classic sources. In this case, he went to the sun. It's just crazy stuff. I don't know what Billy was thinking about when he put this up, but I think it's great because, you know, if I'm standing here, and this is the way to the restroom, but it's like girl wakes from 77-year coma. You know, I mean, you don't get that at a lot of bars. We've got a few coin-op machines here. This is Hoops FX. It's a basketball machine, and I will kick your ass at this game anytime. You name it, I'll be there. This side of the bar, same as the other side. I go back and forth on whether I like island bars, which this is, or whether I like my bars against the wall. There's something to be said for being able to look across and connect with somebody, whether it's somebody you know or somebody you don't know. You know, you watch people and eventually they're looking at each other and somebody might come around and say, hey, you know, how are you? And, you know, we've seen, you know, some people couple up doing that. There's a sense of bar that I like where you have a wall. And, you know, when you look at a lot of our places, they're set up against a wall, TVs against it. There's a TV height thing that's important too. I'm 6'4". These TVs are, I think, the bottom of them, and some of it's because of the ceiling height here, but they're about 6'1". I go into some bars and the TVs are way up here, and it's like your sort of neck is at an angle, and you can't, and I ask why they're there, and they say, oh, we don't want the bartenders to be in front of the screen. And that's a nice thought, but it's just not that important, because if the bartender is standing right here in front of the screen and not moving, then the bartender is not doing their job, and they need to get moving, get to work, or go find another job. You know, we just put up little posters showing what we got going on. It's very small town the way we run this. You know, we're not super digitized. Everything's not thought out by some corporate office. The person who really thinks through this is our GM, Will. He knows our customer base. He talks to them regularly. You know, what can we do better? How can we be a better place for you? And that shows here. And really it shows in our customers' faces. Many of them have had a hand in helping us get it right. Out of the blocks when we opened, it felt a little too slick. It felt a little corporate. It didn't have a vibe. It didn't have character. Now it's got real character. You come in here and you sort of feel as if it's been here for a while. And that's a little bit of the trick of being in a new building. And you can't be an old bar in a new space. You have to be there for a while. And I think now it doesn't smell like an old bar, and that's a good thing, but it's beginning to feel like an old bar. And Quincy Hall is beginning to get a great energy because of that. And you know, over time, I think this will be one of those bars, just like CarPool, where people say, man, I love that place. It's been there forever. Man, what a day. This patio is gonna really jump tonight. And I think people are gonna come in here and appreciate that we're beginning to be a place that they can count on, that it's gonna feel like an old glove. We had the new glove feel for a while, and now we're starting to really build that energy of a steady, dependable corner bar. To me, if we can keep that up and we can just keep adding little elements. In fact, Will just told me about our tabletops. They were damaged. They had all been brown before. And I said, wow, they look great. Whose idea was that? He said, well, we had to do something. $100 of spray paint will do wonders. Okay, well, that's not exactly what most people would think of, but damn, it worked. And it actually solved the problem, and it looks great. That's what I love about a great manager. That's what I love about a bar that has character and has feel. And I think that goes a long way. Thanks for being here. Look forward to seeing you at Quincy Hall and grabbing a drink or a slice of pizza, and see you at the next bar. Take care.